Welcome to Around the House, sponsored by Romac Building Supply. I'm your host, Don Magruder. If you like today's show, go to aroundthehouse.tv to sign up for our YouTube channel and our weekly newsletter. Joining me today is Katina Pantazis. She's with the KP Law Firm, and she's going to discuss elder law issues and how it affects your home. Unfortunately, time does not stop. People retire, people get sick, people pass away, and protecting your most important asset is vital. So with that, I'd like to introduce Katina Pantazis with the KP Law Firm. Good afternoon, Katina. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you.
We are so happy to have you here today, and I guess I need to make this disclaimer. Today's show is not to promote legal advice. You need to garner your own attorney if you have a specific question. Today we're just going to discuss general topics, so please don't hold us account to the legal issues we're discussing. Is that a fair way of saying it?
Yes.
Katina, tell us about yourself and the KP Law Firm.
Sure, so I am an elder law attorney. What that is someone who deals with aging in the law. So we discuss and help people with wills, trusts, power of attorney documents, probate, such as administering an estate, trust administration, administering a trust, and also veterans planning and Medicaid planning for long-term care.
Unfortunately, as we get older, we gather a lot of assets through our lifetime. And as we get older, and things happen, because unfortunately we are all a victim of time. People get sick, they die, whatever. We have to take care and protect those assets so we can pass them along or dispose of them. Your part of the law deals with all those issues, doesn't it?
Right, exactly.
It's not just about the financial money in the bank issues. You have to deal with the physical assets also, don't you?
We do. And we also have to deal with the family to make sure that everybody is on the same page and knows what the plan is moving forward.
Is there a certain age in which you as an elder law person drop in?
So elder law is a little deceptive, the terminology of it.
Okay.
Many people think that has to do with elderly people. However, what you define as elderly and what I define as elderly and somebody else could be much different. It's very subjective. So basically it's the easiest way to put it is aging and the law. However, I need an elder law attorney when it comes to estate planning, but maybe somebody who's 65 or older might need it when it came to long-term care. How are they going to pay for the care of someone to come into the house to see them or go to a facility to receive care?
Let's talk about real world. Say there's a couple from Wisconsin and they've decided they want to move to the villages. And they are coming down here. Maybe they're a young retired couple, 58, 59, 60. Now, when you're 58, 59, 60, you still believe that you're young and you're not elder. But should they seek the advice of an elder law attorney prior to buying their home and disposing of assets and rearranging things in Florida? Because the laws in Wisconsin are much different than here in Florida, aren't they?
Yes. So even if someone has documents prepared in another state, they need to seek advice from an elder law attorney as to, are these sufficient for Florida? Do there need to be updates made, which many times they're due. Even though they are valid in Florida, they may not be admitted or accepted for Florida purposes.
I see you're an accredited attorney, but you're also accredited with the Veterans Administration. Mm-hmm. Have a lot of veterans out there. What does that mean?
That means that I am able to go before the Veterans Administration and represent people. So for me specifically, I help people get qualified for aid and attendance, which is a pension through the VA.
I know this is sort of an odd question, but you work with families all the time and seniors, preparing them for whatever comes next. How do you sit down with a family or elder couple when they're facing a disability issue or a life-changing event, and how do you bring them to the place that, hey, I've got to do something about my home and my assets?
Right. So it's kind of simple. I say, what's your plan? And a lot of times people say, I'm going to move in with my child, or my significant other, or my neighbor's going to take care of me. well, that's wishful thinking. That's not really a plan. So that's how we start the discussion is let's put on paper with everyone present that is close to you what your plan is and start from there.
Let's talk about some common sense things. Our same couples moved from Wisconsin. They're coming to the villages. What are some common sense things they can do to protect their home and assets in the event that there's a disability or a death, those type of issues?
So in Florida, your homestead is protected under our Florida Constitution. So a lot of times people who move from other states say, well, you know, when we put mom in a nursing home, the nursing home was able to take that home if we didn't, you know, do something with it. Florida's different. A nursing home cannot lien against your homestead. An assisted living cannot lien against your homestead. Medical bills cannot lien against your homestead. So as long as you have homesteaded your Florida property, you're protecting it from creditors.
Okay.
Now, whether or not you put your home in a trust depends on your plan. Are you trying to avoid probate, or are you trying to put a plan in place for long-term care?
But let's talk about putting it in trust versus keeping it. First off, do you recommend a man and wife have the home in their names together?
Yes. Yes, as husband and wife.
Okay. What's the advantage of having it in a trust versus having it in their names?
So if you put a house in a trust, you are avoiding probate for when both spouses have passed away. However, if you need to do long-term care planning, potentially you'll want to use a different type of trust to put a house in for that specific purpose, or you may not want to put the house in at all because it is an exempt asset when you're talking about Medicaid planning.
Unfortunately, men die before women.
Typically.
Typically, for me that's not a good thing. But I suspect you deal with a lot of widows.
Yes.
Do you find that during these circumstances, a lot of the widows don't know all what's involved in their assets and there's confusion? And how do you navigate through those minefields?
Right. So a lot of times when a spouse passes, and it could be the wife that passes first too, but either way, one spouse is typically in charge of finances or running the house, or they have a certain job, and the spouse that's surviving has to learn how to do that. So I always advise couples together, make sure you know what the other spouse is doing, because if you don't, that's when we come in and we try to help explain, okay, these bills need to be paid at this time. This is how you write a check out. Sometimes people don't even understand that purpose. Or this is how you pay a credit card bill on time and that type of stuff. So it's very important that both spouses understand what each of them are doing so that it can be cohesive when one passes away to continue running the house. Or
unfortunately, we live in a complicated world too. There are families that have estranged children, family members that may not have their best interests at heart. What do you do in situations when you have an elderly couple and they have assets and they have certain members of the family that, quite frankly, you have to protect them against? So
you are allowed, as long as you have children that are not minors, you can disinherit them. Okay. You do not have to leave them $1 or any sort of figure.
Do you have to specifically state that in the will so that there's no confusion?
Yes, so it's very important that you state that in the will to prove your intent. In addition to that, we require that you have 2 doctors evaluate your mental status to make sure that you have capacity at this time that you're creating this document. Because that's what one of the arguments would be, is you didn't have capacity, you didn't know what you were doing, therefore the will is not valid. So we want to make sure we've got as many things as possible to defend that position.
A lot of people are a little leery about having doctors make that evaluation. Is it a complex process to do that?
No, it's a questionnaire. Basically, they go through questions, make sure that you know basically what's going on in your life, who your family is.
Okay. Just a general one. Are there any issues here in Florida that are special that maybe a senior who's moving down here would need to consider as far as their assets in their home?
Yes. So Like I previously said, the house is looked at differently in the state of Florida than in other states. So you want to sit down with an elder law attorney to make sure that the way you've titled your assets, where you've placed them, if you have put them in a trust, or if you haven't, either way, that all of that is sufficient for moving forward with whatever plan it is that you want to accomplish.
Say mom and dads are together, aging together, and mom gets dementia and starts developing Alzheimer's, and she has to be put in a home, and now the home is in both his name and her name. How do you manage people through those situations?
So that we want to meet immediately when the husband is seeing that the wife is starting to go down that slippery slope, because before she gets that diagnosis, we need to have estate planning documents in place so that we can move forward with a long-term care plan. So it's very important people have a power of attorney, healthcare directives, things like that for people to make decisions to then move forward with an estate plan or a long-term care plan. The power of attorney, if it was executed even in Florida prior to October of 2011, we have changed that so that, not we, but the statute has changed. So there's certain provisions now that are required in order to do long-term care planning. So it's very important people update those.
What's your best advice for someone who's getting older, who doesn't have a lot of these things in hand? What's your best advice for them?
Get it in order. So you want to make sure that your family doesn't have to be making these hard decisions. You want to make them for yourself, most likely. And in order to do that, you've got to meet with an attorney to put everything in writing and produce a plan.
The other issue is Medicare and Medicaid. Medicaid is the for lower income seniors, I know that, but Medicare is changing every day. Do you find that most people don't even understand the rules of Medicare these days?
Yes. So Medicare is more of the health insurance. Medicaid also does have a health insurance aspect to it, but long-term care Medicaid is a government benefit that elder law attorneys can help someone qualify for.
Well, Katina Pantazis, thank you for being our guest today. You've taught us a lot. One thing we need to ask is, there's going to be questions. I know there's going to be a lot of questions. Where is your office located, and how can you be reached?
Yes, I am located off of 441, right next to Billy's Cafe. So most people know that landmark.
Yep.
My phone number is 352-600-2987, and we do give free consultations. So if anybody has questions, we'd be happy to help.
And thank you for watching Around the House today. Be sure to go to aroundthehouse.tv, where you can sign up for our YouTube channel and our weekly newsletter. Also catch Around the House, the column, weekly in the Daily Commercial. Until next time, we will see you around the house.